Leaders of Camp Mystic will be back in court today in a hearing over the floods last summer that killed 27 campers and counselors.
In new testimony, the camp director says he didn't see early warning signs. GMAT's Marshall Farmer is following updates in the courtroom. He's here with some of the key points in this testimony, including some mistakes admitted by the camp.
The Camp Mystic director, Edward Eastland, testified in front of families of victims, saying that no safety preparations were taken ahead of the storm. Eastland says the camp had no detailed written evacuation plans and didn't use the camp's loudspeakers to alert campers and counselors to evacuate. His father and camp co-owner Richard Eastland told him to move canoes and water equipment off the riverfront at around 2 a.m. the day of those floods, with calls to evacuate the campers happening an hour later. At that point, floodwaters were already surging. The attorney representing the families of those victims pressed Eastland on the camp's lack of preparation.
It can't miss it. Take any steps to prepare for this potential flooding and flash flood? Yes or no?
I mean, that's hard to. We did not expect what was going to happen.
Eastland says he didn't receive the National Weather Service alert sent the night of that deadly flood. He admits more campers would have survived if he made quicker decisions to evacuate them. Camp Mystic's defense team has yet to speak, but the hearing will continue later this morning at 9 o'clock in Austin. Lane, Deanna.
All right, Marshall, thank you for those updates. To a traffic alert.